Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here today with you. So, in order to change the slides, I do, or you do it?
You can do yourself at the bottom of the page.
Thank you. So it's a real pleasure to be here today with you. I am Emmanuel Pajot. I am the Secretary General of ERSC, the European Association of Remote Sensing Company. Appointed in July 2020, after 2 years at ERSC, I worked before in the private sector. So I'm used to say that if I had known about ERSC at the beginning of my career, it would have helped me to speed up my business. In a nutshell, ERSC was created 31 years ago. It is a non-profit trade association based in Brussels, dedicated to helping European companies in the downstream Earth observation downstream sector. The downstream sector covers a broad type of activities, starting with ground stations or satellite operators that are resellers, up to the geo-information services, and it includes consultancy. The Secretariat is composed of 13 people, and we have 12 directors and 2 experts. You can find much more information, of course, on the different channels we operate. So we have Twitter, LinkedIn on the ERSC website, and additional platforms I will mention in this presentation. So our mission is to foster the development of the European geo-information service industry, to represent European geospatial information providers, to create sustainable networks between industry, decision makers, and users. We really want to be an enabler, and we publish reports and position papers which are available for free in the publication section of our website, ersc.org. ERSC represents more than 120 members from 24 countries in the EU. If large companies are members of the association, most of our members are SMEs. And I'm sure there are companies you are not familiar with. So please pick up one of these and explore it. You will make my day. If you are registered in Europe and deliver services in the Earth observation downstream sector, then you should be eligible to apply to ERSC. So as we want to be an enabler, the fee to join is really low, starting at 250 euros, to ensure that all can benefit from the ecosystem. And this ecosystem is really to support, the development of Earth observation companies. To develop, a company needs to access to 4 pillars: the knowledge to understand the ecosystem, where they stand in the value chains, to be connected with other players, to understand stakeholders, to develop business model. The market, to connect with potential customers, to have access to new type of customer. This is a main barrier for Earth observation companies. Capital, to hire new people, to connect with potential customers, to acquire additional capabilities. And technology, to develop new services, integrating new approach. And this is where companies are generally really good at. And what we have seen is that the Earth observation landscape is changing really fast. Over the last few years, a complex ecosystem of platforms was created, for example. On the infrastructure tier, the cloud is now considered as a really valuable solution to develop your services. And we have access to new acquisition capabilities, new satellites, constellations, new space assets. New approaches have been implemented on the exploitation tier to process the data, thanks to machine learning, deep learning, AI, big data analytics. Startups can also benefit from much more developed mechanisms, incubators, accelerators programs. Companies are developing a new business model, online approach. rent of data, for example. Companies are looking for business partner to complement their value proposal. We also see the evolution on the demand side from new type of customers. For example, urban environment, smart cities were not so developed before. Insurance company are much more dynamic currently. The evolution of regulations and, for example, the European Commission Green Deal really open new perspective to support Earth observation solutions adoption. At the same time, we can see a really significant evolution from the pure bespoke, so tailor-made standard product to more standardized processing approach. The next step could really be the online delivery, on which we do not have yet enough numbers, but seems really promising. It may offer a great opportunity to get global visibility to company, even the smallest one. And ERSC was really a pioneer in this topic. When we made a survey with the members and on stakeholders in 2016, we identified this need, which has led to the creation of a dedicated platform, which is called eOMOL. eOMOL is a web platform dedicated to the promotion of online services. The real size of this online market is something we will investigate in the next few months. The investment landscape as well is changing. If a significant part relies on public grant, we can see a stronger interest from different types of investors, venture capital or business angel. A considerable effort has really to be developed in order to stimulate interaction with these investors, who often do not consider they have enough knowledge on the Earth observation market. We do a significant part of this activity thanks to activities we have in projects. Obviously, we can't do this alone, and we, as an association, established and are developing a network to support these needs. So we have 3 types of partnerships. So on the international ones, when we have, for example, GEO, Frontier SI in Australia, AGI, Japan Space System, Eurochile, NRC in Africa. Then the technology one with ASAS, Eurovi, and AIT, and some which are more linked to the user community. So IOGP for the oil and gas, Paul Lavenia for geothermal energy and natural aspect, and ERISI and Nereus, for example. Based on the project we are involved in, the link can be much more dynamic than with others. For example, currently we are working significantly with GEO, Frontier SI in Australia, Eurochile, Yogi, and ERISI. And we have actions plan with Nereus. All these partnerships are real tools to improve Earth observation awareness, display the value of Earth observation solutions, develop the use of Earth observation, reaching out to new potential communities of users, and foster the innovation, supporting partnership with the private sector. And to disseminate these informations and to interact, ERSC is operating several platforms. 2 are more business focused, let's say. So eOMOL previously mentioned, which is initially really restricted to our members in order to promote their capability to deliver Earth observation-based online services. There is then EO Pages, which is the oldest one. We updated it last year. EO Pages is open and for free to all European companies to identify themselves and to potentially make connection with other or company or potential customers searching for specific type of activity. And a third one is EO Wiki, which is really focused on knowledge. On EO Wiki, it is for free again. You can have access to various content provided by ERSC or hosted or linked. For example, in the technology and market, the news section, you can have access to a selection of press release report every month. So we update it every day, so you can have a really fresh view of what's going on the Earth observation ecosystem. You can really develop your knowledge on it. Then the 4 pillars I mentioned before, and linked to the research to business approach, we really want to promote, drive the potential involvement of ERSC in a project. So we have to be really cautious when we support one project, bid for one project. And I decided to select 3 of them and to inform you on how they make sense for you. So the first one is FIRE. These 3 projects are funded by the European Commission first. FIRE is a forum for innovations aiming to collect user needs from 6 markets: agriculture, energy, infrastructure, marine, raw material, urban, in order to identify what are the future R&D priorities to support digital activity. This knowledge will be shared. Parsec is maybe a project you are already familiar with, because we have been really pleased to see when we made open call for Parsec to see really numerous Spanish companies applying to this accelerator. So it is an accelerator supporting SMEs to develop new product targeting environment, food, and energy markets. Based on the 2 open call, Parsec has already supported and still supported 130 companies up to 60k euro in funds, but also provide coaching to these entities in order to help them to develop. More information on the solutions can be shared, seen on the website, and will be shared in the upcoming month. And then the third one is eShape. It is the EuroGeo flagship. So EuroGeo is an initiative launched by the Commission. It is based on an extensive consortium composed of public and private entities. eShape aims to promote European capabilities in the geo ecosystem. So entities involved in this project have access to support activities, to develop co-design solutions, interact with users community, and build their sustainability. Event, workshop, and most of document will be accessible to the industry. I just want to focus on eShape a bit because it could make sense again for you in the upcoming month. It is more than a project. It really illustrates how the European Commission projects can play a significant role to support the use of Earth observation services delivered by your company and help them to be visible out of Europe as well. As said before, it is a EuroGeo flagship, so it's directly connected to this really rich but complex ecosystem. And the consortium comprises 63 entities, public and private. So it's a real opportunity to interact with new actors, to learn more about their solutions, what technologies they developed, and really to develop networking and business opportunities as well. All solutions developed to tackle SDGs, Paris Agreement, and Sendai framework. But it is an open project. It's not restricted to current partners or beneficiaries. It is open because in the next few months, so in June normally, we will launch a new onboarding phase. So it means that 5 entities, 5 consortia, will have the opportunity to join this consortium. So stay tuned, follow eShape, and you may have the opportunity to benefit from this ecosystem in the upcoming month, up to the end of the project, which is in April 2023. As an example, how we can benefit to all and benefit to the industry, if we have a look at the water showcase, eShape is composed of 7 showcases: agriculture, health, renewable energy, ecosystem, water, climate, and disaster. If we focus on water, you can have a description on the 7 current solutions which are developed thanks to eShape. And these solutions make a lot of sense with the SDGs. It really highlights how these solutions are supporting for SDG indicators. So it's a real opportunity to inform member states on the current capability, European Earth observation capabilities. It can have a really concrete impact on the future integration of EO solutions in potential future tenders to get these indicators. So it can have a real impact on the market. The market. So let's enter in the market now. What is really important is to understand that it's crucial for us to ensure that all the stakeholders have a really good understanding of the current situation of the Earth observation downstream industry. Stakeholders need to get quantitative parameters on the status and health of the industry, but it's also a real tool for companies to understand where they stand. So ERSC published a different report before every 2 years. And last year, for the first time, we decided to increase the frequency. So we published an intermediate one. So you may see sometimes a reference on the Industry Survey 2020 on the top right of the slides, or Industry Survey 2019, depending on the source of the information, which are available always for free on the ERSC website. 4 numbers, really important. What does mean Earth observation downstream industry? At the end of 2019, it was represented by 572 companies, more than 9,800 employees, and a total revenue close to 1.4. So the Earth observation downstream sector is healthy and presents a significant growth of around 10% from several years. Growth in the number of companies, growth in the number of employees, and in revenue. And this highlights that companies have delivered and are delivering valuable services to their customers. They have built the trust and they have developed their activities, reaching out to new thematic or market. But we have to be cautious. These numbers represent the situation at the end of 2019. We have some numbers that we have to continue on this to improve these numbers, thanks to you. The COVID crisis is impacting companies. And so we have launched a new survey to be published in June 21, and it will cover only the first consequence of this crisis. So I want to use this opportunity to invite you to fill the survey. A link is provided in the last slide. And so it is crucial for us to have a really good number of answers in order to evaluate the current situation. I know you receive a lot of survey, but please really consider it as a real priority for us, but also for you. So if we go a bit in the detail now, the total number of companies increased by 57, reaching 572. This represents an increase of 11% between 2019 and 2020. It undermines companies which no longer exist from going out of business to merging with other companies. So the creation of a company is really unique. An interesting point is that company size. Earth observation sector is still obviously characterized by micro companies, 70%, and only 1% of large. But what we see is a slight increase in the percentage of medium ones, which may highlight a shift from small to medium company size. Is it kind of consolidations? We have to investigate this in the future. In terms of employees, employment is a crucial factor, crucial indicator. Over the last 5 years, the number of employees has grown relatively steadily at a rate of around 10% per annum. This time, we can report that about 1,500 jobs have been created over the last 12 months, representing a growth rate of 17%. Of the total, 82% come from direct report employee numbers and 18 from projected numbers. So it really gives us a good confidence in the result. And the number of micro companies has risen significantly and many of those are growing. These micro companies drive around 50% of the increase in employment numbers. In terms of countries, all European ESA countries have at least 2 registered EO companies. The country hosting the largest number of EO service companies is the UK, followed by Germany and France, but it doesn't have the biggest number of employees, where it is France and then Germany. If we want to focus on startup, which is of interest, of course, the total number of companies formed in the last 5 years is 171. 17 are one-person company, which means, for example, consultancies, which we consider as stable, so doesn't mean any growth. Of the other 154 businesses which were formed at this time, one has grown into a medium-sized company with over 50 employees, and a further 21 have grown into small company, which means between 11 and 50 employees. On the remaining one, 68 are still micro one, so between 2 and 5 employees, and 34 are micro 2, which means between 6 and 10. So the consequence of this is really to highlight that in order to develop, to create new jobs, a startup needs 4 to 5 years. In terms of revenues, the total revenue for the sector in 2019 was close to 1.4 billion, representing a growth rate of close to 10% over the last 12 months. Again, a total of 1.2 billion is directly reported from our members or stakeholders. So we are really confident with this number. In terms of activities, what we can see is a really significant change. Traditionally, Earth observation is a bespoke market, but we saw a significant change between 2016 and 2018. Revenues from tailored activities have significantly decreased from 60 to 25%, and at the opposite, revenues from semi-automated and fully automated processing have increased considerably. So the substantial investment of company to support this change is clearly visible. So in a survey which is still open, we want to inform about the use of these exploitation platforms, which really highlight that all this cloud processing approach is really considered as relevant for companies. In terms of market, we can see changes in the consumption of Earth observation-based services, changes in the market share, changes which are well aligned with the objective of the EU space program in a way. Defense and security is the most flourishing market and present a significant growth from around 20% to 30% in 2018. Agriculture, environment, pollution, and climate were already identified previously on the top 4 on the artillery. A significant increase is the emergency services market, which moved from the 7th to the 3rd one. Construction, real estate management, and alternative energy improve their ranking. We see although a stronger integration of Earth observation services in some markets, such as insurance, where EO capabilities contribute to the creation of new services called, for example, parametric insurance. And companies have also deeply involved in the provision of information to SDG goals. 55% claims to be delivering currently services that can help with progress indicators, one more or more of the SDGs. Among those companies, the SDG 13 climate actions come first, with DG 6 clean water and sanitation, and the SDG 15 land and life. The geographic distribution of sales is, although a very essential parameter for ERSC, as we are involved, active in a lot of projects to promote European services companies' internationalization. The fragmentation of the Earth observation market could be a barrier to internationalization. For example, we can see that sales in the EU represent 70%. If the domestic market is still the most important, it is closely followed by other sales in Europe, which has increased by 9%. A particular point is the increase in sales in North America, which represent currently 15%, so an increase of 50% compared to the previous survey. So companies are really successful in the international business development, and EU services are really appreciated in North America. In terms of customers, the Earth observation market was and is still a public market. So 51% of revenues come from public customers. At the same time, in this growing market, the private company share is stable to 28%, which is already a very good sign. And the biggest change is the increase in the public R&D sponsor, plus 6%. So it's really highlight the investment for the future. In terms of challenge, we ask what are the key challenge? And company reported on what they perceived as the main barrier to grow. And the most relevant reported barrier were all linked to customer acceptance and their budget, as well as finding new customers. It is a really good sign. It's really highlight that companies really want to identify new potential customers and not only selling more to the current customers they have. And one slide about Copernicus. A lot of startups really consider Copernicus as really a driver for their business. It's a key asset, and not only for startups, but for all companies. More than 90% of companies are using Copernicus data, but as well, more companies are using Copernicus services. So over the last 3 years, the use of Copernicus services has continuously increased from 45% in 2016 to more than 60% in 2019. Amongst the Copernicus services, companies are mainly interested by land services, close to 50%, but we can see a particular interest on climate, which has more than doubled between 2018 and 2019. And I want to finish this presentation on one slide on skills. ERSC is involved in a project called EO4Geo in order to understand how we can really support skills transition. Skills is something we heard a lot in different projects on different surveys we launched. A lot of companies consider they do not have currently the skills in order to develop. In order to develop, because they do not have non-technical skills, they consider they do not have the technical skills for specific changes. So this is why we are involved in this project. So sector growth really relies on skills formation, skills deepening, and lifelong training. So currently, we are building, European Commission is building a new approach in order to develop new modern curricula and training offer that are aligned with these market skills. I mentioned it before, we have currently 3 surveys available, and so I would like to invite you, please, to fill this, at least the industry survey 2021. It is a really crucial one. Really crucial because thanks to this survey, we will be able to evaluate what is the consequence of the COVID in 2020. So it's really important to understand what is really the picture of this situation. And then we have 2 other ones. One is really to the use of Copernicus and startup. And the third one is about exploitation platforms. So I imagine you are more or less whole a user of these exploitation platforms. Previously, I mentioned the DS and so on. You know that there is a lot of question actually on the future of the DS. So we will be really pleased, happy if you could help us on this. And just want to inform you as well on an opportunity to promote yourself. ERSC will have in June the ERSC Award 2021. We will have 4 awards, one about the company, one about the product, one partnership, and one startup. So please do not hesitate to go through these pages in order to know more about it and have the opportunity to be promoted as well. Thank you very much.